we're looking at the bottom of a 2006 3/4 ton GMC Sierra pickup truck. And what we've got underneath here is a turbo system from Squire's Turbo Systems, or STS Turbos. And they are very unconventional in that they mount their turbos away from the engine, away from everything else on the engine. So if you look underneath this truck all the way up here at the front, of course the engine's all the way up there, but back here at the back, where normally the muffler would be mounted, you see there is a turbo. There goes the tailpipe going out to the back of this truck. So they mount their turbo back here at the back, and you can see it looks pretty conventional otherwise. We have a turbo, we have our wastegate, which is that little thing right there. The intake to the turbo is that tube right there, which comes down from up above. It is possible to just, of course, hook a cone type filter right there on the front of the turbo and have that be your air intake, but considering that this is underneath the vehicle, we kind of came up with a different solution, and I'll show you that later, where this orange hose comes out, goes up through the bed. You can see right there. We'll have a look at that in a minute. But you might say, why do they do this? Doesn't it create a fair amount of turbo lag? Well, surprisingly not a lot necessarily. They actually do pretty well. If you follow this thing, of course, we've got the exhaust inlet to the turbo is of course coming in through this pipe here, and then the outlet back to the back. But our the outlet from the compressor on the turbo is right there, that metal tube, and it goes up and over to there, and we can follow that thing along the side of the truck all the way up to the front. Okay, and it goes up there underneath the hood and then dives back down over here, and we have our intercooler. Get a different angle on that. You can see where the intercooler is mounted at the front of this truck. We come back out of the intercooler, back around, and then go back up underneath the hood, and that's what we have underneath there. Now let's go up top and see what we've got under the hood. Okay, so now looking under the hood, a lot more plumbing under here too. So first of all, back down there, that's that tube that's coming back from the turbo that comes up here and then dives back down to go through the intercooler, and then this is the tube that comes back up from the intercooler, and then you can see our mass airflow sensor, and then we feed back into the intake over there. This engine is it's a 6-liter LS2, and the 6 liters in the trucks usually they don't have tons of power. They're more torquey as opposed to high in horsepower, which I suppose for a truck is kind of what you want to have. But with this turbo on, it really does add quite a bit. This engine is all stock internals, so we've been running about 5 pounds of boost on this thing. We put a new wastegate on because we had a problem with the old one, and the new wastegate has a 7-pound spring in it, so we'll be running a little bit more boost. We don't really want to do more than that with all stock internals on this engine. Now another thing we've got going on is the line that goes back to the back here that takes boost back to our wastegate to control our wastegate has to run from the intake manifold all the way to the back. The other thing that we have back in the back underneath that we'll look at again in just a minute is the oiling system. You'll notice right here, this is the oil fill cap for the engine, we've got this line plumbed in from the back, and this is the return line from the turbo. So the oil that lubricates the bearings in the turbo coming back from there comes all the way up to here. We have an auxiliary pump that helps make that happen. Here's the truck box or toolbox on the back of this truck where we've actually put the air filter. So this toolbox just sits over the right rear fender back in the bed, and you can see the slats there, the opening. Inside there is an air filter and tools and whatever else that the owner might want to carry in this toolbox. This part of the setup is completely custom. This is not something from STS. This is something that we've adapted to the air intake, or as a place to put the air filter where it could be protected back here in the back of the truck. So now taking a look back underneath again, we're right here where the oil filter is. You can see there's an adapter that adapts to where the oil cooler lines bolt onto the side of the engine, and there's a steel braided line that is feeding oil back to the back. So that line goes around the oil pan there and then comes outboard over here, and right there you can see the line, and comes all the way down the side back over to here, and then feeds into the turbo right there. Now the outlet line, oil coming out of the turbo, comes out here, and then there's an oil pump. So this pump here gives us the extra pressure that we need to make sure that we can feed pressurized oil from the oil pump and the engine all the way back to the turbo, but then also to return that. So we have this oil pump here that takes it all the way back up to the front, and that line is the one that goes into the oil fill up at the engine. The other thing we have back here at the back, you'll notice back on the outlet of the turbo, we have this sensor, and this is a wideband air fuel ratio sensor that is used to feed the gauge. There's a couple of extra gauges on the A-pillar for air fuel ratio and boost, and so this is just a Innovate product. You can see the control box mounted right up there, and the wires that go all the way up to the front. So basically, with a few little extra add-ons, this turbo system works very well, and we're going to probably doing a little bit of tuning on this in class because of the new wastegate with a little bit of extra boost, and due to the fact that old wastegate was not functioning properly for quite some time. We need to do some tuning. We'll see what this turbo system is capable of doing. With the old wastegate on it didn't do too bad. With this new wastegate, I think things are going to get even better.